Back from the dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're all invited to go fucking mental on this motherfucking drop. The countdown has just begun. Are you ready? Let's go.
Now we're back from the dead. We're back from the dead.
Hell yeah.
Back. Now we're back from the dead.
Are you ready? Let's go. Back from the dead.
We're back from the dead.
Hell yeah.
We're back from the dead. Back from the dead. Back from the dead.
Well, hello, Chanel.
Hello.
How are you? How are you, Kat? Where is Kat at?
Hello.
Hi,
Not in
Kat.
Vegas.
What? Oh, you miss Vegas.
I miss it.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Ghost Girl Diaries podcast / YouTube channel, Twitch channel. I am your host, Krystal Leandra, with Chanel Cherry, aka Channel Cherry, and Kat is coming to us live from New Hampshire. How is New Hampshire, Kat?
Freaking cold.
Has it snowed and it's like really, like you said, there were like plows out yesterday and stuff?
Super icy. Yeah, tonight's gonna be -3.
No.
That's
just not my kind of life. You know what I'm saying?
I'm ready to come back.
Oh my gosh, I bet. That's so cold. I don't think I can do it. I need those up.
It
you know
is.
what I'm saying? Yep. So today we're doing Content Huddle, and we're doing, I don't know, we have a couple things we can chat about, actually. I know next week is Dead Time, and that's usually when we cover some things, but I feel like there's a foot fetish that's in the middle of the room that's like an elephantitis type of like size that we might need to touch on a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Ooh. Did you see the episode yet, Kat?
I did.
Okay, so you know what we're talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
also, we may have some tea on Travel Channel being a little sneaky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but first, I feel like we should, and we're gonna do a giveaway today. I have some giveaways from Kat today, actually. Where are they?
Hey.
So, Kat loves her little knitting business, and you're kicking butt on it, aren't you, girl?
I am.
Yes, she's really
proud
kicking
of
butt.
it.
You should be. So Kat has some giveaways for us today. She's a little knitting fiend, shall we say.
Indeed.
And she did some infinity scarves, so we're going to do some giveaways at the end of the stream. So shout out to Kat and Magic Loops. How do you spell Magic Loops?
Here, I'll put it in comments. M-A-G-I-C-K.
M-A-G-C-A... Wait, M-A-G-C...
M-A-G-I-C-K.
Did I have a seizure as I was talking? Like, it's fine.
Oh my gosh, I'm dead.
Magic Loops is your business, and you can do custom orders with Magic Loops and Kat. And every order comes with a free what, Kat?
Krystal.
Yes, very witchy.
Yes.
Okay, so let's chat first about Lupercalia.
Sure.
Do it.
So, I think it's an interesting topic because, once again, a lot of the holidays are based off of, like, pagan, like, theories and, like, ideologies. And people don't realize it. Same with the Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. The Christmas tree is very pagan. Right? Except they used to do decorations with, like, pentagrams. And, like, they would take, like, you know, mulberry or leaves or sticks or whatever, and they'd create, like, their own sort of images for the tree. And the same thing goes for Valentine's Day. So, Kat, you did most of the research on this. I know about Lupercalia.
Mm-hmm.
But this week we were going to catch up on our last stream, which was spontaneous human combustion. But I was like, next week is Valentine's Day. So we have to do this topic because it's kind of like a dark topic. Isn't it dark, Kat?
It is. I mean, there's like twists and turns though. Like sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's not. But that's how it goes.
Well,
you know, there's so many different stories.
And you said this, which I agree. Trying to like find the origination of like actual Lupercalia is really hard to find. Yeah. So there's gonna be people out there, and like I was even looking up on social media. There's one page that we follow. It's called like I think it's Witchy Tips. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And she always has really cool like random paranormal facts and stuff like that. People were arguing with her on her posts regarding it's called Witchy Tips. On her posts regarding, let me get this a little closer. Hopefully everybody can see it. Of her post regarding Lupercalia. And that's because it's such an old celebration for Valentine's Day that people don't really know the actual origins. But isn't that like every celebration or religion? Like you can't pinpoint exactly what it was or exactly where it came from. Yeah. Because with cultures and over time it can be like reinterpreted. Yeah. So obviously what we say isn't infinite, right? Like it's not like absolute. But it's kind of dark, which I guess, you know, it's definitely paranormal related. We first kind of started educating ourselves on Lupercalia because of Sabrina, which is on Netflix. What is it called? Sabrina? Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And actually, they tie in, like, Nick and the wolf. You know, his, like, familiar is, like, a part of the whole, like, Lupercalia sort of, like, origins. So, anyway, let's start talking about this dark holiday that people don't realize. It's interesting, so how many times, like, how many years pass, and it's been reinterpreted into this just, like, it's a love festival. And you're like, but do you know where it, like, actually came from? Like, let's talk about the dark side of it. You know what I mean? Kat, do you want to start? Do you want to start chatting about it?
Sure. So the holiday has pretty much been traced back as far as 6th century BC, so it's pretty old. It was an ancient pagan festival held each year in Rome on February 14th. Although Valentine's Day shares the same day with a martyred Christian saint, some historians believe that the holiday is actually an offshoot of Lupercalia. Unlike Valentine's Day, though, Lupercalia was a really bloody, violent, and sexually charged celebration with, unfortunately, animal sacrifices, random matchmaking, and coupling in the hopes of warding off evil and infertility.
And back in that day, I don't think it, because Satanism's kind of a newer term.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least for us, it's a newer term. So if you're talking about like ancient rituals and ritualistic stuff from Rome per se, if they're having animal sacrifices, you can't sit here and say that that was satanic because it didn't really exist at the time. So unfortunately, there was a lot of cultures that, which I think, once again, I don't like animal sacrifices or human sacrifices. I think it's gross. But back.
Bless you.
I'm fine.
Bless you.
Everything's fine.
Are you okay?
I feel like a karate chop.
Everything's fine.
Sorry.
Ooh, gosh.
Back in that day, these animal sacrifices was like it was like a popular thing, unfortunately. Yeah. But in that time, you would also have to think of it as they would use things like the furs for like clothing or like blankets and stuff like that. So I don't know. As dark as it is, there was a purpose behind it, I guess. Okay, so it's dark, man.
It is.
It's really weird. Like, it's super edgy to me. Like, they think that Lupercalia, how do I word this without sounding like really dark? They think the rituals of Lupercalia are what sort of triggered and inspired BDSM stuff for like the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like that. So when we're talking about this, and you're hearing us about like talking about they're whipping each other with like the skins. I think when people automatically think of whipping, they think of like slavery. But this is more in like a sexual manner, I guess, is the way to discuss it. Is that I feel like I'm like turning red by saying that.
Just a little bit. And the women that were willing, because back then during that whole ritual time, women were actually like showing bare skin to get whipped because that meant that you would not have infertility. So it just meant something different
like,
then.
Sort of, like, I don't want to say beat like black and blue. It wasn't meant to like.
It wasn't like that.
It wasn't like that. But the more you were sort of beat and whipped, the more they assumed like your ovaries were able to produce like fertility, which is like so dark to me. It's like
it's like so left field, but whatever works for you.
And then these people like truly believed it. Like they truly, like the culture believed like, yes, like you're going to become fertile if you let men chase you naked wearing like wolf skins. And then you're gonna be able to like get pregnant, and like these women believed it. Like it's just crazy. Like because nowadays like social media has taken over, and if you heard something like that on social media, you'd be like, "What is wrong with you? Like where you live? Right. Like what are you doing?" You know. Okay, Chanel, what do you want to talk about? Now the whole celibacy thing. They were drowned in a river, right? Like they would be drowned if they didn't take vows of celibacy before like the
ritual.
Is that what you call
it?
Yes. Was it the celebration?
Celebration, ritual.
That's weird.
So now we have two extremes, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there could have been women back in the day that were like, this is absurd, and I don't want to partake in it. And if they decided to go run off and be with someone else without being, like, matchmake during Lupercalia, they were literally murdered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's extreme.
I mean, I feel like that's, like, yeah.
Wow.
It went as far back as Rome.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole drowning thing came from Romulus and Remus, who was the ancient king was King Amulus, and he ordered Romulus and Remus, which were his twin nephews, to be thrown in the river to drown in retribution for their mother's broken vow of celibacy.
Wow.
So that's kind of where all of that came from.
It started.
And it's really weird because, you know, you think of pagan holidays or festivals, and then you think of like Christianity and, you know, how that kind of derived from the pagan, you know, area of it. They have so many similarities to like the Bible. It's insane.
Right.
It's insane. So like you think of Valentine's Day, right? That one part of it came from 6th century BC, which was like pagan festival. and then the other half of it was St. Valentine,
Right.
which was a Christian thing. So this is very, very strange because the whole Romulus and Remus thing, essentially the twin nephews that were supposed to be drowned, they were saved. And they were taken downstream and put into a basket and put in the river, which is very much like Moses, like the story of Moses.
Right.
That's kind of what happened to
So
him
it's
and how he
almost
ended
like
up in Egypt.
intertwining like two different like cultural theories
And
or
that's-
religious theories.
It's also interesting
Yeah.
too because I'm pretty sure that this ties into the god Pan as well, and they reference that in Sabrina too.
Oh, that's
Yes.
right. Yes, they do.
Mhm.
You're right. Also, it ties into World of Warcraft because Thrall gets put in a basket and sent down river. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. Okay, keep going.
My gosh, I'm dead.
So anyway, when they get down river, okay, there's like a she-wolf that takes the boys, right? That takes them to her
Yep.
den and takes care of them. This ties into Sabrina too.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at Sabrina, which is the main character, which I haven't read the comic books, we should, considering we're so into it, especially after
They're
third
pretty
season
dark.
was so like out there. I would like to know how much it like actually matches up with the actual comic book. But Sabrina falls in love with like a warlock who's named Nick. And Nick is like a magic, he's like kind of a guru with magic, right? Mm-hmm. And he has what's called a familiar, who is sort of like an animal guardian that you're assigned to for your life. And the worgen, it's kind of like a worgen, right? Like it's like this upright walking wolf, half human sort of thing. It's his familiar, which also ties back into this Lupercalia thing, which is a, quote, she-wolf. And Nick's familiar is a female wolf.
Yeah.
So we're tying this all into this, like, super old lore, which I didn't even realize was, like, of existence till we started doing, like, actual Lupercalia. And wasn't it in Sabrina that the she-wolf or the familiar came in to Nick's life and that was trying to, like, destroy the relationship between Sabrina and Nick? Wasn't it during the Lupercalia festival?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And then Sabrina ends up killing the she-wolf.
Yes.
And then, okay.
Right.
So it's so weird. Like, when I was reading through this, I was like, oh my gosh, they really... So whoever is the writers of Sabrina, not only the comics, but also, like, the producers of Netflix, they've really been able to recreate this pretty darn
Someone
good.
who's doing the research.
I think so.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because, like, all of us have been annoyed, you know, even the fans of GGD, when we watch, like, a paranormal show or a series and the facts or even the lore is, like, really off. Isn't that annoying when it's not correct? And then you go do the research and you're like, that wasn't even part of it. That wasn't even part of it. Okay, keep going, Kat. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Okay, no, that's fine. So the twins, so this is like continuing with the story of Romulus and Remus. The twins were later adopted by a shepherd and his wife and learned their father's trade. So they essentially took revenge and they killed the uncle who was supposed to drown the twins to death. And they found a cave den of the she-wolf that nurtured the twins, and they named the she-wolf Lupercal. Mm-hmm. So it was thought that Lupercalia took place to honor the she-wolf and please the Roman fertility god Lupercus. Mm-hmm. So it's all kind of very similar to Lupercalia, and they called the she-wolf Lupercal in order to honor Lupercus, who is the fertility god. And that's how that kind of plays into the whole, like, whipping and all that jazz.
Right, and all that
So-
jazz. I like how she said that.
And all that jazz.
She's
You know,
like, I'm just going to
science.
avoid that one just a little bit. So there's sacrifices that are performed at this old school Lupercalia thing. So interestingly enough, this is a random side fact just because I feel like it needs to be said. I don't even think I told you guys this. So
Oh, hey.
what everybody's about to see is going to be an authentic expression from Kat and Chanel.
Oh, great. Okay, we're ready.
So I know, are you ready for this? On
No.
Instagram, so I get random, like, messages from, like, fans or just, like, random people. And clearly we do, like, a lot of paranormal chat / like, you know, some of this goes into, like, you know, weird, dark, pagan, ritual, weird stuff, which is what this topic is. Someone on my Instagram, this was, I think it was, like, 3 weeks ago-ish, something like that. So mid-January, I got an invite. Are you ready for this? To a
Yes.
Lupercalia festival that's going to be taking place near San Francisco, California. And I was like, wait a minute.
That's legal?
What?
Well, I don't think
Wait a minute.
like there were like texts, like, so I clicked the link because I was of course curious, and it was like they're not gonna have animal sacrifices,
Thank God.
but I do think they're gonna do like
The whipping?
the whipping part and then like the random mating sort of thing.
Okay.
So does that turn into like a modern sort of like orgy type of thing?
I have a lot of concerns.
Well, clearly I was like, no, thank you. But appreciate the invite, no, thank you. But it was being headed by like ran by a satanic church out of the
Really?
Bay Area. Yeah, out of the Bay Area.
Satanic, really?
So I think
Wow.
if you want my opinion, the way it sounded, and there were a lot of people interested in going. Like I'm talking like 120 people or something. I don't remember what
Wow.
it's called. Don't ask me. I did not save the link. Because I was a little bit horrified by it, to be honest. But,
Wow.
Kat's like authentic reaction right here.
I'm shook
Are
right
you okay,
now.
Kat? You look like you're a little bit of
I'm, it's fine.
Deer in the headlights. But basically what it sounded like to me, just from like reading, because they had like description and then they had people like talking in like a forum. They're gonna have a potluck, first of all, to like celebrate.
Sorry.
To celebrate the Lupercalia. Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
And then afterwards is like the festivities or whatever. I had a seizure. Sorry, I'm fine. And
I did too.
I know. And they were like wanting you to bring like
What? Continue. We need to know now.
like the BDSM tools. Like there were like, yeah, I know. There was
So
like a
chains
list
and whips,
basically, and
There was a list?
yeah, there was like
Gee.
a list that they would say like what was allowed to be brought and what wasn't allowed to be brought. And,
Oh,
like,
great.
And that if you were like a spectator or curious, you could come just to like sort of watch. And I was like, anyway, also the way that it was sort of written, in my opinion, was I don't think this is something they do every year. I think someone watched Sabrina. Seriously.
True.
And the way it sounded was like the way they present it in Sabrina on Netflix. And I was like,
I
okay,
mean-
guys, do you think you're taking this a little far? Like, I feel like the reason this is an ancient Roman ritual is because that's where it should have stayed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway.
To each their own, I guess.
So,
but dang,
sorry for your
that's
authentic
little...
reactions there.
And plus, like,
Woo!
the feasting began after the ritual sacrifice. Like, how would you eat that? Like, after.
Well, right. Like, why
experiencing
would
that.
you want to, like, eat a giant meal and then, like, bound chicken down wow sort of thing? I agree.
Right.
I don't
I
know.
know.
I'm not running it, so I can't tell you.
We need to know details now.
Right. Well, at first I kind of thought it wasn't real. You know what I mean? Like, as I was reading through it. So, long story short, the point of this little rant is, I think, whether it's like satanic, church running it or not, I think that suddenly there's going to be now a big, like, Spring of Lupercalia festivals happening.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not my thing. I'm not into it, but, like,
I mean,
I think that this has kind of created a real life thing where people are actually interested in it now and, like, bringing these old cultural celebrations back to life. That was another reason I wanted to do this chat, because it's interesting to me that people are wanting to bring these back out again. You know what I mean? Like, especially something like this.
Like, the old ways are coming back.
They are.
basically.
The old ways are sort of coming back in, like super old ways. Go ahead, Kat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think outside of the creepy festival that they have, which is probably essentially an orgy.
It is,
It's
yeah.
probably
I'm
literally what that
assuming.
is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in its head saying it. I was like, can I say that? I don't know. I'm gonna say it anyway.
Whatever,
But I
filter
think
it
I
out.
do find it really fascinating that they are talking about old culture,
Right, yeah.
and being informed about it.
Right.
I find that really fascinating.
Well, so going back to Lupercalia, because, like, I feel like we kind of skipped ahead by talking about that. I wanted to talk about that, but I wasn't sure where to bring it up. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of, for me, it was a little shocking to see people are actually wanting to, like, celebrate that way. Because an actual Lupercalia festival, when you start doing the research, is, they're not doing sacrifices, but clearly they're going to have, like, tools, which are, like, whips and chains and maybe furs or whatever. and they basically chase the women, and whichever woman they find, they whip the women, and then that's the woman that they end up mating with, and it's a complete, like, sort of stranger type of thing. And you're, like, now in the old days, you were, like, assigned to, like, finding one mate. It looked like in this new festival was you could have as many mates as you wanted. So...
Just be careful, guys.
I don't know if I really agree with that, but I guess, you know, like, everyone's bubble, whatever that means, like, what their, like, fine line is up to you. I don't know if that's the best thing to be preaching, personally, just, like, you know, safety as far as, like, STDs and stuff go. That's just personally my opinion on it. So if anybody out there is, you know, partaking in this, just be really careful, because, like, I also get worried that, like, they're going to take this old school ritual and use it in the wrong ways.
Yeah,
you know
I was
what I
just
mean?
going to say, like, consent is still a
Right.
thing.
Consent is a thing, and also, like, are you using an old ritual as an excuse to just have, like, a wild orgy party?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Orgy party?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true, though. It's
so,
true.
I don't know. I have some concerns with it. It's just me, like, depending on who's running it, how many people are involved. Not that I'd be there. But it's just, I thought it was a little weird. And then when I had found that one, I found out there were several others that were being planned throughout the United States for, like, Valentine's Day and the 15th. So anyway, really weird. I just was shocked. How do you guys feel? Are you shocked about it? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm a little shook.
Yeah.
Cat's
Yeah.
like, I have no words. I don't know.
I don't know why I'm surprised,
Right.
but I'm definitely a little shook about it.
Right. Yep. So anyway.
Be safe, folks. I'm just saying.
Yeah, be safe.
I'm just saying, be safe.
Also, just getting in, you know, I feel like this is not a day and age where, like, back then you would have probably been in smaller, like
Oh my God.
What do you call them? Like I don't want to say it's a coven, because it's not like a witch coven, but like a little community where maybe 20 people would live here and 20 people, where 2020 there's, like, mass amounts of people. And I feel like you can't, like, it's a day and age where you may not be able to trust just it wouldn't be a small community that you know.
Right.
So, I don't know. Anyway, if anybody's into that, interesting. Okay, let's keep moving. So, the ritual sacrifices, what was the point of the ritual sacrifices? They would dance in the blood, wouldn't they?
They would. So the color red for Valentine's Day or for Lupercalia represented blood. And then the white, as a part of it, was representing milk-soaked wool to get rid of the blood. Essentially, the sacrifice of, like, one or more male goats was considered a representation of sexuality.
So now, if we're talking about goats, we're
You're
also
getting
tying in
into-
Satanism, new Satanism,
Yeah, like
right?
Baphomet.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. So it makes you wonder where, like, the New Age Satanism kind of stemmed from and how they created it. Because you're talking about, like, goats being sacrificed. What are they like, ritually serving? Baphomet, which is a goat figure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost like they took some of this information and then just, like, turned it a little bit and then recreated it into something else.
Yeah, they're taking very ancient pagan ways.
Right.
Yeah, and it's even creepier how it goes down.
Okay,
It's even creepier.
Go ahead, Kat.
Because the sacrifices were performed by the Lupercalia, which were a group of essentially Roman priests that were there doing these sacrifices. And afterwards, the foreheads of the naked Lupercalia, so the Roman priests that were doing this were also naked.
See, this to me sounds so twisted. You know what I mean? Or is it just a day and age thing? Like, at this point, you think if you saw a naked priest, like, I have some concerns. Okay, I also have
There's a lot of concerns.
That why are you sacrificing a goat here, Mr. Priesty? Like, you're supposed to be of the greater good.
This is
And
where
a dog.
Catholicism is so weird.
Like, literally. Go ahead, Kat. Keep going.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's really bad. So I promise it's almost over. So essentially, the two naked Lupercalia, they were smeared with the animal's blood using the knife that they used to, like, sacrifice it. And the blood was removed with a piece of milk-soaked wool to get rid of it as the Lupercalia laughed.
See, to me, that just seems really dark.
So
and something
I just
not
have a
right.
lot of concerns, and Satan lives. So I'm just saying, as side fine.
Oh,
So
man. And
don't
all-
kill goats.
And yeah, please don't kill any goats. And with that being said, don't kill anything. Actually, can
Or
we just
dogs.
Say that? Let's just not kill anything. You know what I mean? Like let's
like
peace and harmony. Let's
No
be,
killing.
Let's be chill and just
Namaste.
calm the F down.
And be
This
safe.
was all in response to fertility.
Yes.
I feel like this is really extreme for like, you know what I mean?
Oh, it even gets better.
I know. I'm right
It's
here with
great.
you. So the loop. First, let me just add too, because I'm in the same like part of the notes that you're at. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Lupercalia festival happens. This whole like sacrifice goes down, and then these random couples are matched from the men chasing the women down or whatever, and they're beaten, whipped. Okay. And many afterwards just fall in love and have a family together.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that's how it went. And to me, it's like,
Yeah.
wow. Like, how did you meet your husband? Well,
Let me tell you, it's a long story.
it's a long
There was a
story.
goat involved.
There was a goat,
and
a couple of
a
naked
feast,
priests.
and then an orgy.
Yeah, it was fine. And then I just found this one guy, and he was it. And that was it. And it's like, okay. So, and once again, going back to if you did not follow the rules of, like, the way they did this, you would get killed. You'd get drowned. Which is also extreme.
Just not cute.
Yeah, I feel like there's no balance there. There's like it's this extreme or this extreme. There's like no in
It's
the middle.
either you're going to find your love or you're gonna die.
You're right.
Like that's really.
Chanel, it's so true though. Chanel, you're gonna die.
You're gonna die.
Gonna die.
And it's a drowning of all things. Like I feel like that's really dark too. Okay, go ahead, Kat. Keep going.
Oh God. Okay.
I
This
know.
part's really gross. So we're just gonna keep going because we just gotta get through this. We're gonna do this as a group. This is it's fine. It's gonna be okay. So, okay, in ancient Rome, obviously the feasting began after a ritual sacrifice for a pagan festival. That's just how it was. I
And
don't
they
know
call
why.
it
Just
a feasting, and it sounds cannibalistic, but what it is like a fertility feasting. So it means like
Essentially.
the men are trying to get to the women for like a fertility feasting. So don't think of it as
Yes.
like there's cannibalism going on. Well, God knows what happened. That could have
No,
happened, too.
I mean, who knows? But,
Right.
you know, it's not listed.
Especially back then, you don't know.
Yeah.
Really, you don't know.
True.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Kat.
So when the feast of the Lupercal was over, the Luperci, which are the Roman priests, cut strips of goat hide from the sacrificed goats and ran naked, whipping women within striking distance with the thongs. That's what they were called.
See, to me, it's just like those priests were some freaks, man.
They had some problems.
No,
They
seriously, like,
probably
to me,
needed
it's
some
like
therapy.
The priests, like they were bored and they wanted they probably had to stay celibate,
That's the thing.
and
like,
they needed an excuse to not be celibate, and this was their excuse.
That's
to
true.
Not be
it's
celibate.
dark, but I mean, it makes me think of like today how you hear about all these priests molesting children.
Right,
Like,
ugh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's
It's true.
Well, and then they keep it within the church and shush it up and like
Right.
bury the records, and they say
Yeah.
don't go to the police and we'll deal with it internally.
It's the church. We would never do that.
Right.
Like,
God,
okay.
Jesus Lord.
Go
Okay,
on.
keep going, Kat.
Ugh, God. Ick. Sorry, I'm like trancing out. It's gross.
Kat's like, I can't
So
do
anyway, I'm like getting through this. So many women welcomed the lashes and even bared their skin, which we talked about before,
Right.
to receive the fertility rite. So it was considered a fertility rite. It's also still open to speculation, though, as far as what the lashes represented.
Mm-hmm.
So no one's really actually sure if that's what it was, but given that's kind of what the whole synopsis of the feast is, or the festival is, that's probably what it was.
Right.
During Lupercalia as well, the men randomly chose a woman's name from a jar to be coupled with them for the duration of the festival. And often, apparently, the couple stayed together until the following year's festival, and many of them got married and even fell in love. So it's really interesting. It's just, I don't know. It's weird to me.
I would
but-
not want someone picking my name from a jar. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I would have a
Yeah,
concern.
I have some problems with that.
Yeah.
How would you feel
I have
about that,
multiple
Chanel?
concerns about that.
Yeah.
Don't be picking my name. for
Oh,
anything.
I mean, yeah. What if it was someone you were like, we know he only showers once a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
think about
oh,
it. Cat's like, oh God, I can't.
nope.
Now Saint Valentine, you also kind of rounded into that, but I wanted to look up. I have another couple of things that I wanted to kind of add to this from the Witchy Tips page, because she
Yes.
kicked butt with some of this history. So they do think that it was honored in Lupercus, right? In like the fertility god of Fanis, right? Which is also tied into this. It was celebrated between February 13th and 15th. So sometimes, depending on culture, once again, it would be the 13th, sometimes the 14th, sometimes the 15th, sometimes it was literally a festival of all 3 days. Which, once again, is it just an excuse for like an orgy party?
Right.
To me, it just,
probably.
Yeah, it does. To me, it just seems like it's just an excuse for that. It's also to celebrate the upcoming spring, sort of like when like chickens get pregnant and they want to have babies during the spring. It was sort of the same thing of like getting pregnant before spring. And it was also in representation of purification and health. So oftentimes, if it wasn't a culture of choosing a name out of a jar, the men would usually choose the women that were like the healthiest, or whatever that meant to them,
Right.
or the most purifying. Which, once again, going back to if they didn't stay celibate, they could be drowned. So dark. So dark to me. Like the whole drowning.
A little
thing, it's
extreme.
like, wait a minute. Like, so in other words, I feel like if you didn't want to partake, you would be murdered. Right?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the goats and the dogs that were used during sacrifices from the men were to represent the strong sexual instincts of males. So clearly we're definitely not in an age of, feminism.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Clearly
I like it all.
We're definitely not in that sort of an age. And most of the men would also wear the loins that were used in the partaking, sometimes before and sometimes after during like the whipping of these women.
Hate that word.
I know, I do too, but I don't. It's
Loins.
not what you think it is either. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
it's
I know.
not. It sounds like you're totally being abused, but I think this is where that like dark, edgy stuff kind of comes in.
Yeah.
And the women would sometimes even line up if there was like one man that like 4 women wanted. They would line up for the man.
Wow.
Chanel,
Chanel,
like, I can't. Literally, I'm dead. And sometimes they would even have multiple animal skins, and depending on like the biggest animal skin that they were whipped with, meant like if there's 3 women or 4 women, and like only one woman was used with like the biggest whip, it meant like he likes her the most.
So is this why males' egos are so inflated?
It could have been
So
where it started.
romantic.
It could have been where it
Jeez.
started. And also, like, the larger the whip or the harder the whip, they assumed it would increase the fertility more. I'm like, no, boo, you're going to knock her ovary out is what you're going to do.
Not about that
God.
life, yo.
Be careful with her ovary.
I'm gonna slap her ovary.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh,
well,
I'm
it's
dead.
just so strange to me. I don't mean to laugh
That's
because I
up.
love
No.
history and I love culture, but this is just like really out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is also bringing in more like pagan gods and goddesses of like love and like women and marriage and like. February 14th was Juno Februrota's feast day is also what it was called, and it was usually single women that would come in like Kat said with a name and put it in a jar. They would willingly put their name on a piece of paper and put it in a jar. Like how do you walk? Can you imagine walking into that festival and be like, so I'm here for the
Like a
festival?
scroll. It's like a scroll of names.
Well,
oh my god.
Yeah, it would be. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And then obviously the single men would be there too, and they called it erotic activities, is what it was called. It was also called the Love Lottery, aka the Love Lottery. And,
Okay, that's kind of cute.
I mean, well, without the orgy part.
Without the orgy part, but that's kind of yeah.
I mean, it just keeps going, honestly. And once again, this is all depending on like what culture you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I guess that there would sometimes be married men that would partake, and if they got caught partaking, they would get imprisoned, tortured, and sometimes beheaded.
Jesus.
So they wouldn't mess around. Like, you had to be single, and if you like tried to sneak in, like, you would be punished.
Wow.
But once again, you're talking about living in little tiny societies of like, I mean, practically
10 people.
yeah, I mean, it was literally like a village, villages. And obviously, oh man, I saw your husband down there at the Lupercalia festival yesterday. And then
They
here
hit
come
him.
the guards, and they're like, we're going to kill you then. You can't do that. So they obviously took, like, monogamy very serious as well. which is also kind of strange considering they're like throwing this huge like orgy party on,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So it is so weird to me though that such a love festival of what we celebrate now of February 14th came out of all of this dark history.
Yeah.
It is kind of
And
strange.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to go into St. Valentine next, but we want to finish the Lupercalia stuff first. Honors the day of pagan gods. I'm just reading through this really quickly again. Red roses are obviously in part of this is because red roses was because of the sacrifice of the goats, and the blood of the goats is red roses representing sort of like the sacrifice means giving your blood to them, like it's a permanent thing. So obviously we can't do sacrifices anymore. So what's the next best thing we do? Go buy some roses for $50.
Oh my god.
I know, it's dark, isn't it dark? It's really dark. Like people don't
Here's my
realize.
sacrifice.
Here's my red rose sacrifice to you. It makes you really look at this whole thing a little differently, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I was so excited to do this. Also, they would tie in like the Venus god, Greek goddess Aphrodite, obviously Venus, mother of Cupid. Once again, this all ties back into the goddess of love and the red roses. Cupid is an ancient pagan god, often portrayed as young, youthful, winged, carrying bows and arrows. It's said that he can shoot magic arrows at the gods and humans by piercing their hearts, that he can make individuals just fall very deeply in love with one another. And
That's
once
also
again,
very morbid.
that all tied back in pagan style. So, let's go move on to St. Valentine, now that we've talked about all of this dark stuff. Do you, like, back in the day, like, I feel like this would have probably been popular for people, though.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
people would have been like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have a mate, and I need to, like, I need to have a family, and, we have to, like, the Lupercalia Festival's coming up. Like, are you excited about, like, it was probably, like, a big thing to talk about.
Right.
And that
True.
was, like, how they would meet their spouses, and it's just it's just a little dark for me.
Different.
Just a little.
Just to be, like, beat by someone before you initially, like, mate with them. But, I mean, different times, obviously. Kat, let's go into St. Valentine here.
Okay, so 3rd century AD, a man named Valentine was executed by the Roman Emperor Claudius II after being imprisoned for assisting persecuted Christians and secretly marrying Christian couples in love. As the story goes, during Valentine's imprisonment, he tried converting Claudius to Christianity. Claudius became enraged and ordered Valentine to reject his faith or be killed. Of course, Valentine would not reject his faith, so he was beheaded, unfortunately. Legend also tells another story of what happened during Valentine's imprisonment after he tutored a girl named Julia, the blind daughter of his jailer. The legend states God restored Julia's sight after she and Valentine prayed together. On the eve of his execution, Valentine supposedly penned a note to Julia and signed it "From your Valentine." So that's kind of where like the Valentine Day, whatever greetings or cards or anything like that.
So
You know what I
two
mean?
things
Where
to
kind of
me stand out in this. Valentine was beheaded, which is another blood sacrifice. Red representing eternal love.
Right.
Let's get dark again, except now let's use a human. And then the other thing that I'm realizing tying into Sabrina is restoring the blind sight. Do you remember her best friend was
Yes.
blind in the series?
Yes.
And Sabrina went into the room and had her wash her face with water, and her sight was restored.
Yep.
So it's really, once again, I am impressed with the writers of Sabrina, man. They are like, I don't know if it's in the comics because I haven't read them. I want to get them. But however they're even filming this, just putting it together, they are using accurate stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that because that is hard to freaking do. Like,
It's really good.
Okay. Shanae,
Yes.
do you want to wrap us up here with the origin of
Sure.
Valentine's Day?
So
Patron of lovers.
So, as a patron of lovers, he became synonymous with romance in the late 5th century AD. Pope, how do you say that, Kat?
Gallegos?
Galles? Yeah.
Gallegos?
The first eliminated the pagan celebration of Lupercalia and declared February 14th the day to celebrate the martyrdom of Saint Valentine. Instead, although it's highly unlikely he intended the day to commemorate love and passion, Wait, why
Well-
highly unlikely?
Well, that's basically because they're basically trying to get rid of old pagan rituals and move forward with something else.
so basically like how the Christians
Right,
came in
kind of
and
the Christians took
the
over.
pagans,
Mhm.
right?
Basically, they didn't. Well, and obviously, you're talking about having animal sacrifices.
True.
They probably didn't want to like keep preaching that to people because obviously that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so
No.
they're like, oh, so anyway, let's start celebrating St. Valentine's instead. But they
Yeah.
still took some of those ideologies
It's true.
of love and
Oh.
red and roses, and but they just
Even white too,
yep.
because isn't it white, red,
Mhm.
pink? That's like
Well,
the-
yeah, just think about Valentine's decorations.
Yeah.
Red, white, and pink.
yeah.
Well, and technically, if you mix red and white, what's that make? Pink.
pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So completely, it's totally 100% all together. I don't know. February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Hello.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
For Valentine's?
Not go to that festival. That's what I'm gonna do.
I don't know, man. I was like, and the person that sent it was real cryptic too. It didn't say like, "Hey, how are ya?"
Wow.
It was like, "Here's the link to this. You should check it out." And I was like, "What?" And I
Wink, wink, nudge,
Yeah.
nudge.
It was a
I-
private link on Facebook, actually, is what it was. It was like a group on Facebook that someone had created, and I think there was like 160 people that were going.
Jesus.
So something I found really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
just really quick. So I found it really interesting that the Christians declared February 14th as a day to celebrate the martyrdom of Saint Valentine,
Right.
because isn't Lupercalia on the 15th?
Yes.
So it's like
Well, 12.
they didn't want
13th through the 15th.
anything to like associate with that at all,
They
even
were
the
trying
day.
to. Yeah, they were.
They like just got rid of it completely.
Mhm.
That's insane.
It is.
Wow.
I mean, it's insane in general, but it was kind of like a big poo-poo to you. Let's just do it on a different day.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, that's a
Wow.
lot of like Christian ideologies though have totally like dumped to the pagan idea,
Yep.
and then they
True.
also created the fear of like pagan/witchcraft, which also in turn created like the fear of like witches having like green skin with moles.
Yeah.
When yet you're celebrating all of these like holidays that were created by these people, yet you've created a fear in society of what they were, yet everything based off of it is from them.
Yep.
And they've been totally sort of like dumped by the wayside. Now, definitely not agreeing with animal sacrifices
No.
back in the day, or really giant orgy parties and being whipped to find my spouse.
Yeah.
But it had to start somewhere, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Unfortunately, I feel like old cultures and old belief systems, you can't agree with 100% of everything.
I honestly think that they should teach this in school.
Right.
I think they need to start teaching the true history of where
Holidays or
things
whatever.
came
Mhm.
to be.
Historical. Just history in, in general. Yeah.
Because you hear a lot about wars and that sort of thing, but it's like, okay, but we have all of this other stuff that humans
But even
did.
the wars aren't told correctly if you think about
Right.
it. Because, like,
Yeah.
my family's Native American,
Mhm.
and they don't teach what Christopher Columbus actually did. He's
Exactly.
praised instead. And you're like, hold up a second. That mofo should just have a seat.
I
You
don't
know
know
what I
if
mean?
it was just my child intuition, but I knew Christopher Columbus wasn't who
He was a
said he
sketch
was.
ass. We knew he was sketchy as F. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I agree. I think it's actually really kind of cool because the history has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you think about this stuff, however old it is, since we don't really know, those societies had no idea what they were doing at the time. It was a new society. They hadn't
Yeah.
been able to grow and learn and fail like the hundreds of times our societies have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like come to new places and explore new places, like everyone moving to America.
Right.
So I mean, at this time, they were like, "This is our origin, and we don't know where to start. So we're just kind of like doing the best we can, and this is what we've decided to do." To
Yeah.
me, spouse whipping is probably not the best way to do it, but
Yeah. No.
That's how.
but at that time too, if you think back at like they didn't have grocery stores.
Right.
You didn't go buy your meat in a package or buy your cheese that's already been produced. Like, you're having to create it and make it. So really, and hunt it. So really, at the time, it probably wasn't that shocking to see animal sacrifices.
That's true. Yeah.
Because it was, they probably did it with chickens, and it was just their food.
And they probably did it, the way that the natives
Indigenous
did
people did, yeah.
it, because they were indigenous to doing it.
Right.
You know.
Right, I agree. Well, it's very like Game of Thrones style.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Agreed. Well, especially indigenous too. Like, my family grew up on the res, and they used every piece of the animal. Like, there's no
Yes.
piece that is not
Right.
being unused, which is where I do agree with that part.
Yep.
Because they would even use the bone and like the
Yeah.
skins and whatever. It wasn't like wasted.
Yeah, as opposed to today that people do it for sport.
Right.
And
Oh,
just because
gross.
they just want a picture
Bad.
of
Right.
them killing something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's horrible. Well, I think that was really good chat. What do you guys think?
That was very good.
My cat is having an allergic reaction right now.
Oh.
Me?
It's Fade, yeah.
Oh.
Cat's
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. I was like, I am?
Now, two more things too we wanted to kind of to touch on, not Lupercalia style, right?
Not the feet, right?
What'd you say, Kat?
I said not the feet.
Oh, the feet. All right, we're gonna talk about feet for a minute.
Is that one of them?
I mean, I've had people tweet at me asking me. I've had private messages about it, and I feel like I have no choice but to sort of talk about it.
Great.
Zach's newest episode of Screaming Room premiered on Thursday, right, Chanel?
Yeah.
Were you with me that day?
I was there. Yeah.
So, how do we start this conversation? You know what I'm saying? You say, well, he says, So, Zach admits on, that he likes the mummy foot and that he has a foot fetish. Look, man, I just want to be excluded from this narrative, okay? I'm gonna pull a T-Swift. I would like to be excluded from this narrative. I don't know. That's weird. That's all I have to say. I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
That was awkward.
I mean, it's because it just kept
I'm
going.
just surprised he admitted it on TV. That's my thing, like that's.
Look,
I
I
mean-
stand up for Zach a lot, and that's one thing I'm not going to back him up on. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to have to, like, pull himself out
Nothing.
of that one. I guess
Oh
the
my God.
awkward part for me, you were there.
Yes.
We were watching it together.
We were.
And my mom was there. We were having dinner that night. And
We were having dinner.
we were having dinner, and we all almost threw up,
Ugh.
first of all. Because I thought he was going to lick the mummy foot. I couldn't remember.
Yes,
Oh my
that's
God.
what's worse is that he was holding a mummy foot, and then he admits that as he's like watching himself holding this mummy foot that was just.
Well, he's like, I could just imagine it being, like, reskinned and perfectly manicured. And I was like, ugh. Look, let me just say what I think about feet. They've thoroughly repulsed me.
Oh my God.
I mean, right? And, like, I'm a cosmetologist. I used to do pedicures, and that's probably why feet repulse me.
Mhm.
Like, literally, I think feet are gross.
Yeah.
Pedicured or not, they're disgusting. So, anyway, not that I hate on anybody that has that going for him. I guess the awkward part for me was it was a really long conversation.
Yeah.
Was
It just kept going.
awkwardly long?
Drawn out for.
And I
He
don't know
kept
if
digging
it
a
was-
deeper hole.
Was it the editors that were doing it?
I don't even know.
Anyway,
Or did they actually talk about it for that long?
I don't know, Chanel. You know what I mean? I was ready to move on after the one statement. I was like, okay, let's just keep going. You know what I mean? Second thing we were going to chat about before we do giveaways, which are right here, giveaways. I'm gonna word this carefully, Kat. Okay?
Okay.
I want you to just mirror me and word it carefully.
Okay.
We're a little pet peeved at the moment. Is that a good word for it? We're a little
Yes.
salty.
Just a little annoyed.
Last night I was preparing for the stream today, and we were doing, like, notes and all that stuff, and happened to walk by, and the TV was on Travel Channel, and there was a new show that was on. What was it called again, Kat? I sent it to you in text message. I don't want to butcher it.
Good
Kindred
question.
Spirits Resurrected,
Yes, that was it.
Yes.
which was Amy Bruni with Adam rewatching old episodes and doing commentary, much like Screaming Room. Is that right?
Yep.
Which is also much like what do we do? What is it, Kat?
Booze and reviews.
Right. And when have we started Booze and Reviews again?
September of last year.
September of 2019. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was kind of able to let the whole Zach one go with Screaming Room, right? We let that one go. But now we're seeing a second one come up, and now I'm a little bit peeved. And here's why I'm peeved, okay? Some of the negotiations that Kat and I have been going through over the past year did include producers from Travel Channel. Is that a correct statement to say, Kat?
It is correct.
We have had a handful of producers from Travel Channel reach out to us interested in Ghost Girl Diaries. Okay? Not sharing names. I did not sign an NDA, so technically I could share names. I'm not going to, because I'm going to continue to take the high road like I always do. But what does that mean? And this is total proof. Kat's seen the emails, the messages. Kat actually found one first and then let me know through our private emails. We get contacted from production companies and producers all the time. Some of them are BS, some of them are real. I don't respond to these people until I'm absolutely certain they are a legitimate producer. And Kat, you do the research for me on these producers, right? To make sure that they are who they say they are. And the people that reached out to us are, in fact, producers for Travel Channel, right?
They are.
Okay. So, you know, we get in these commentary of discussion with these producers where they're interested in me and they're interested in signing GGD or, like, putting us on an episode or a series or whatever. And I don't know if they question if I'm, like, blowing smoke up everybody's butt. Like, meaning I talk about production and it's almost like they test me to see if I'm actually who I say I am, like if I've done the work I've said I am, like a producer. And what I mean by that is some of these producers from Travel have got me on the phone and they try to pry information from me before I sign NDAs or contracts or anything like that. And my sort of answer is, I'm not falling for this. I'm not stupid. I've worked in this industry. It is dog eat dog. We know this. Chanel, you know this. You've worked in some professional settings that have been really dog eat dog. And basically when they try to pry information from me, I shut the conversation down and then they ghost us.
They get mad and they ghost.
They get mad and they ghost us. And particularly it's been producers from Travel Channel that we've talked to. Because I would never just get on the phone with anyone.
Like 90%.
Yeah.
Them.
I always make sure before I just give out my phone number or Kat and I negotiate. Like, we're not just going to do that with anyone. And the point of this conversation is obviously producers from Travel Channel are watching us, right? Travel Channel is the hub of paranormal right now because it was Destination, then Discovery purchased them, and everyone moved to Travel Channel, right? We know there are producers from Travel watching us. We've been in contact with a handful. But what it's appearing now is that they know that I know what I'm doing. I assume we know that Zach is the top. He's the cream of the crop. They can't disrupt Zach until he's ready to retire because they're afraid that it could ruin their entire network, right?
Yeah.
So what they're doing instead is they're watching us and they're taking our ideas and themes, much like booze and reviews, and they're implementing it into other shows instead of signing us, right? And I just feel like I have a few things, and you have a statement that you had a really good point last night, so I'm going to let you say that in a minute. But the first thing I'd like to say is rather than having people review their own shows, such as Ghost Adventures and even Kindred Spirits, who's only had, 3 seasons or something? 2 or 3 seasons?
I think so.
If that's happening, why don't they just find new people like Ghost Girl Diaries to sign an actual season 2? Why are they reviewing old episodes? If they need a time slot for a new season for something, I can give it to them. But they also know that I'm not playing around here when I talk about being a producer. Because they get me on the phone and they panic and then they ghost me.
Right.
But they know that I'm serious about it. They also know that I'm one of Zach's biggest competitions. And not only is Travel Channel afraid of that, but so is Zach. Because they know that if I were to come on that network, I could shut it down.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say,
it's gonna go viral.
I was saying either sign us or someone else will.
Mood. And I'm kind of just tired of these producers reaching out, and now we're seeing our ideas, and we've even seen some of our themes that we've talked about, right? Kat, do you remember when we sat down and did social media schedules? And what we do, Kat and I sit down and we do 6 months of social media, right? And we'll literally go week by week and we say, okay, well, this week is Valentine's Day, so we pre-plan for Lupercalia, right? Or Christmas, we're going to do Krampus. We literally look ahead and do it that way. Or or Roswell. What's the week of Roswell? That's what's going to go in our, so, you know, we pre-plan social media. And for a while, literally, like, what was it, a year ago, Kat, or a year and a half ago? We were seeing every time we would do a stream, that theme would pop up on someone's paranormal show.
Yeah.
It was almost like we were giving free ideas to the producers at Travel Channel.
Yeah.
And
To exactly like a T. And one of them wasn't even Travel Channel.
Right.
That's how, like, you know, much this is expanding.
Right.
And I just wish someone would just sign at this point.
Well, I think that they're afraid. They don't want Zach to have competition until he's ready to resign or retire, whatever. Really, personally, travel isn't the number one place I want to go anyways. We've all known that. Like, Netflix is where I want to go. I am going to say that we had been in negotiation with contracts with Netflix, and what ended up happening was Taylor Swift's documentary ended up getting signed, and there was funding that ran out for that pilot season. We were really, really disappointed about it, and we felt a little bitter towards the T Swift, even though we love her and we relate to her music. But we were hurt, and it wasn't just us that got cut. It was a lot of documentarians that got cut because of T Swift going in, because obviously no one can compete with T Swift's financial price of putting out a freaking documentary. Nobody has T Swift's money. You know what I mean? So long story short is, it's just really disappointing. You know, I guess I don't understand why these producers keep reaching out and then they ghost us. I don't really get it.
I don't either.
I know that they're annoyed because they want to pull more information from me, and it's not going to happen. And I think they've figured it out. But, I mean, do you have any 2 cents you want to add to that, Kat? Because you've been helping me do the business side and production side, and it's frustrating for us. Like, you know, we put in a lot of hard work on this just to have a big network come in and sort of piggyback us. I think we're kind of over it and sick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and without going into detail, I wish that these producers would have a little bit more, I guess couth is the word. I love that word so much. When we have a question on something because they ghost us and they blast us as if we're the problem, but then they take the idea. So, you know, I feel like these things could be handled a lot better.
They could
be.
Yep. And even, you know, Zach doing Screaming Room. Hi, Astros. My mom's dog's here. I don't know if you guys can see him. I guess there's a few things to say about it. I don't have an issue with Zach taking that idea because, once again, you can't copyright the idea.
Right.
I don't have anything personally against Amy or Adam because, obviously, once again, you can't copyright the idea. It's so obvious when you've been in communication with these producers and we know they're watching us. It's so obvious.
And then they get mad when you're like, hello? Are you there?
Hello? What's going on? You wanted to negotiate, now you don't want to talk? So anyway,
it's not good.
I just felt like it was time to just chat about it because it's happened more than once. Especially got really upset about the whole Kindred Spirits resurrected thing. Clearly, they're trying to find time slots to fill.
This is actually what I was trying
Why aren't they bringing in new people? Why are they resurrecting old stuff? Not only, like, the same episodes and rewatching it, but there's no, like, good investigators out there. Like, I'm so happy for Destination Fear. I hope to God they get re-signed.
Yes.
They deserve it.
That is the only show right now that I'm, like, rooting for.
Right.
At this point.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do have some concerns, too, is if we did end up going to travel in the future, would we drown in all of these shows?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't mean that we wouldn't stand out. I just mean, would people be like, what is Ghost Girl Diaries? Is it worth watching? When there's like 40 other paranormal shows on there. Anyway, I feel better just getting that off my chest. I
feel like, just to add one more tidbit, I feel like this network, more specifically Travel, I could be wrong, might want to work with people that don't really know what they're doing.
I agree.
So they could have a say in what the program does. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it could also be an intimidation factor where they know your background. You know, they know Krystal's background, and they are dealing with it very carefully.
Right.
While siphoning out information because they know how public we are. We got nothing to hide. We got nothing, like you said, you can't copyright an idea
Well,
like
we
that.
have one video that's pushing almost 1 million. I told you guys. One video pushing 1 million. And I think that could push us to one of the biggest paranormal channels. Whether we were shadow banned or not, there was a point that we weren't shadow banned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those videos are still getting views irregardless. And those people and producers are still watching. They're still watching.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just a shame. That's all. And, I think they also know from watching me the work ethic that I have implemented with GGD is a lot like Zach and Ghost Adventures. And I really think that's where, this, brick wall keeps coming up and hitting us is they don't want to upset Zach. I mean, he's owner in stock and investments now at Travel Channel. They don't want to, cause him a rift or competition because he has been the top so far. Mm-hmm. But, there's also room, especially for, female empowerment. There still isn't strong, knowledgeable women in paranormal, a full female show. There still isn't. And there's been a few that have tried, and you can tell it was just totally casted, and it wasn't authentic, and it wasn't hard work. And the thing about us is each of us put in our own portion to make Ghost Girl Diaries what it is. And I'm not willing to settle for less, and I feel like that has been pretty apparent as well. And, the right door will come along. I'm not upset. We got upset previously with the T-Swift thing, but I told Chanel and Kai, I said, look, it just wasn't our door. It just wasn't our door right now. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I am tired of being used and people thinking they can just pop in, from big networks and that they can have a say and manipulate the situation because it's not going to happen anymore. And we're watching. They think they're watching us, but what we're doing is actually watching them, and we know what's going on.
Even more so now.
Even more so now. We're being very careful, and any future contact, I'm going to be even more careful. And I think from now on, I'm going to make them sign NDAs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It can go two ways. I mean, I have my own production company, too, so... And it's not playing dirty, it's just making sure we're taken care of. We do a lot of hard work for this channel, guys. Everything we do, the research is all on our own. The ideas are our own. No one else helps us with this. You're seeing right now, pre-production is who you're looking at. Kat, Shanae, and Krystal. Period.
Shanae.
Put,
to
in
the
parentheses on the credits, Shanae / channel.
Literally. Chanel has 40
personalities.
Oh my god, no, don't say that.
Oh my gosh, don't say that.
Sorry,
No.
No personalities. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's do a giveaway really quick. If you guys are online and you're in the United States so that I can send you a giveaway, I'm going to pick 3 people for a giveaway. 2 of you will have a Magic Sloop giveaway and 1 will have a regular GGD giveaway. So just type giveaway if you want to be selected, and I will pick you guys in a minute. I'll pick 3 people in a minute. Anything else we want to add to the stream? That kind of feels good to get out.
It did. I think even despite everything, we're still really positive. And honestly, the more times we're burned is just adding more fuel to the fire to make this a success and make this happen, because it's going to happen no matter what. Mm-hmm. But this is also really good to talk about, to look back on when we get signed.
Right.
To see our journey and to be as transparent with our fans as possible. And for anybody else that might be going through this journey, to know that you're not alone in this and that these things have to happen in order for you to have major success.
Well, also film is very dog-eat-dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very dog-eat-dog.
It's kind of it begs the question, if we were guys, would this be happening?
No, probably not.
Nope. You are 100% right, Chanel.
Yeah, unfortunately. You hate to pull that card, but we're going to pull that card.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And it's frustrating, but that still has to be more of our, energy of putting in, the positive and the hard work, which is what we've always done. And just keep picking up and going. And honestly, seeing true colors like this from people, it does question if you would want to be signed to them or not.
Yeah. That's how you conduct business?
Yeah. It's concerning. It's really concerning. Okay, so I'm going to choose 3 people. I'm going to pick Emily, Raven, and Nikita. Let's go with Nikita. She's an old school fan. If you guys could please send your address and screen names to my email. .
take pictures in your scarf.
Tag magic loops.
Tag magic loops. You got it, Shanae. You got this down.
Yes.
Oh my god, I love it. All right, I'm going to send these out probably next week. They are here. Yay, Kat, thank you for the giveaways for Magic Loops.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Follow magic loop.
Yeah, follow Magic Loops,
Woo, woo.
please. She's awesome. Kat is kicking butt. Okay, so giveaway. Thank you guys to our subscribers and all of our members that are joining us today and that watch later. Please remember to search for us on social media for Ghost Girl Diaries, Krystal Leandra, Shanae, just kidding, Chanel Sherry, and Kat Cormier. You can also find our information on the info box below in YouTube and Twitch. Show your support for the streams by subscribing to Patreon and Twitch. Kat, we just uploaded a newsletter this week too to Patreon, didn't we?
We did. Ghost Girl Gazette.
Yep, and
There'll be another one next week.
I'm going to add more content too. I think I'm going to do a private podcast for our Patreon subs. Yeah.
Awesome.
Finally, literally this week, officially finished finalizing moving the studio. It took that long by hanging all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it literally took a year and a half. Just kidding.
Hey, look. Better late than never.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it was a big move. So, thank you guys so much. And as always, we will catch you guys when? Next
Next time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.